After the fight is over, Bayaz and Glocka have a conversation. Bayaz reveals a few interesting things. First, he reveals that he is the money behind Valent and Bulk, the bank. So it was Bayaz's money that was lent to Glocka when he was defending Dagoska against the Gurgish and needed money. It was Bayaz's money. Also, Yoru Sulfur can change faces. He was actually the one who murdered Prince Reinault. They also planted evidence that would lead to the Gurgish emissary being blamed for Prince Reinault's death. This was all done so Bayaz could keep the Gurgish and the Union on the warpath. Yoru was also the tanner. And Tanner was the one who was leading an uprising among the Union citizens in the south that Jazal was sent to quell. And suspiciously was found that it was very easy to get the tanner to accept the Union's terms. Well, it's because the tanner was actually Yoru, and he was supposed to accept those terms, all in an effort to make Jazal look good and make it easier for Bayaz to argue that he should be the next king. Yoru was also impersonating Mathis, who was the representative for Valent and Bulk. Bayaz will also have Glocka be his right-hand man and rule in his stead while Bayaz is away, because he's not going to stay in the Union for the time being. So Glocka will do his bidding. The open and closed council have been made aware of this, so they will all listen to him. And Jazal, the king, will also be under Glocka's authority. Bayaz also reveals that he has been the architect for almost the last 1,000 years, ever since the formation of the Union, who has been pulling all the strings, letting people or having people rise to power, removing them when he needs to, and making everybody dance on his puppet strings. It seems that this was all because of his war with Kalul. Bayaz uses anybody and everybody to further his efforts against Kalul. Later on, at a closed council meeting, the meeting breaks and the Lord Chamberlain asks to speak with Glocka. He tells Glocka that they have a problem, and that problem is that R.D. West is pregnant. And since R.D. and Jazal were dating for quite some time, it's reasonable to assume that it is Jazal's baby. Glocka says that he will see the problem solved. We are cleverly made to believe that this means Glocka is going to kill R.D. We have every reason to believe that this is what he would do. He has done this in the past, and it's just his character. So when he goes to meet with R.D., we think that's what's going to occur, but what ends up happening is that instead of pulling out a sword or a blade to kill R.D., he instead pulls out a wedding ring, and he asks R.D. to marry him so that he can continue to protect her and the unborn child. And R.D. accepts. So we're going to have Glocka married to R.D. West. They're going to be raising Jazal's unborn child. They're going to raise Jazal's child. Jazal doesn't know that he's the father. And Glocka is someone he despises. And he doesn't know that this person he despises is going to be raising his first and only child. We jump back to Logan. He is trying to find Pharaoh. It's obvious that he has feelings for her and wants to pursue that. And we have a sad little moment where he ends up finding her. She doesn't even look at him. She barely even registers that he's in the room. He tries to talk to her, but she is still hearing those voices that nobody else can hear. And she is listening for them. Logan tries to talk to her, but he can tell that her attention is divided. He takes it as a sign that she just doesn't care about him, and she doesn't feel the same way about him as he does her, so he leaves. After this, we go to Pharaoh, who is sleeping in her bedchamber. She's awoken late at night by a figure in the room. It is Mamun. He wasn't completely killed, and he attempts to kill Pharaoh. He strikes at her, and what should kill a normal person in this story doesn't kill her. It appears that she, through her interaction with the seed and with Bayaz's use of the seed, we're not really sure how this happened, but she appears to have obtained some abilities like an eater, but we're not exactly sure what she is at this point. Mamun doesn't know what she is, but she is able to fend off the attack and kill Mamun. After this, Pharaoh decides that her vengeance has not been quenched, so she heads to Gurkle to exact more. After that, we jump over to Bayaz and Jazal, and Bayaz has a few things to tell Jazal before he goes. First and foremost, he tells Jazal that he is to obey Glocka and do whatever he says. Jazal is at first not agreeable to this, as you might imagine. Jazal's response is, of course, no, I'm not doing it. He gets angry. He starts kind of yelling at Bayaz, and Bayaz does not take this well. He says that he's been too generous with Jazal, and he proceeds to use the art on him. Jazal is doubled over in terrible pain. He begins to vomit. Bayaz tells him, do we understand each other now? And Jazal says yes, he will be subservient to Bayaz, do exactly as Glocka tells him, and he will not give Glocka any trouble. I feel so bad for Jazal here. So now he's been thrust into a situation he didn't choose. He didn't want to be king. Artie was taken away from him because he was forced to be king by Bayaz. He doesn't know he has a child with her. The person he despises in Glocka is now married to her. And now he also has to do exactly what Glocka tells him to do, or fear retribution from Bayaz. I think that Jazal has gotten it the absolute worst out of anybody in this whole story. He is a victim of circumstance, of things that are totally out of his control, and he is truly powerless to overcome it. After the failed meeting with Pharaoh, Logan decides he's going to go back north. It's the only life that he knows, since there doesn't appear to be one for him here in the south. Then he's going to go. He tells Dogman that he needs to stay as a liaison for the Northmen. So we go to Jazal and Glocka after both of their discussions with Bayaz, and Jazal kind of confides into Glocka, letting him know that he's having a little bit of trouble with Therese, a little bit of trouble. They haven't made any attempts to create an heir, and he doesn't know what to do about it. Glocka says that he'll talk to Therese for Jazal, and so he goes and does that. Glocka goes to the bedroom where Therese spends almost all of her time. She has one of her handmaids there, or her friend. She's been friends with this person since she's been a child. Glocka lets her know that he's aware of the situation, questions her if she even has any interest in men. Therese is, of course, offended and tells Glocka to leave. Well, he doesn't. Instead, some practicals come in. They take her friend prisoner, and he tells Therese that she needs to start producing heirs. If she doesn't, some very unpleasant things are going to happen to her friend. Therese tells Glocka that she's going to comply. So this adds a whole new wrinkle to the Jazal and Glocka relationship. After everything else that has happened, now he is threatening his wife to get her to sleep with him and produce some heirs. They have some details and some milestones that she needs to hit. Like, I think that she needs to create 4 children, at least 2 boys. Otherwise, and he's going to hold her friend until she does. And Giselle seems to be oblivious to a lot of this. She does hold up her end of the bargain and follows through on what she told Glocka she was going to do, and her and Giselle do start trying to create heirs. It's just a weird situation. And the kind of funny thing is that Giselle, in his obliviousness, thinks that Therese has suddenly changed. He doesn't think, well, I talked to Glocka, who is a torturer, and he talked to my wife, and suddenly now she's made a 180 turn. It must be that she changed. He's kind of a dummy. So we're almost at the end of the book here. 2 more things happen. We first get a conversation between Glocka and Colum West. Colum has fallen ill with the illness that has spread due to Bayaz using the seed. A lot of people have died. They get sick and they die quickly. Colum West appears to have made it through the worst of it, but he is a bit of a cripple himself now. But in his discussion with Glocka, he had brought Pike with him. And Pike was that smith that Colum West procured from the Inquisition when he was fighting against Bethid in the north, and he had brought him back to Ottawa with him. After West concludes the conversation with Glocka, he leaves the room, but Pike stays behind and he attacks Glocka. And it is revealed that he is in fact Salem Ruse. And Salem Ruse was the person way back in the beginning of book 1 that we first saw Glocka question. To defend himself and to get Salem Ruse to not kill him, Glocka strikes a deal with him, and he takes him to where he is holding Archlector Sult prisoner, and he lets Salem Ruse do whatever he wants to him, because Glocka lets him know that Sult is the one who gave him the order to kidnap him and torture him. We don't see exactly what he does. We leave the room, so to speak, but we can imagine that Salem Ruse is probably not being very gentle with Sult. We end with Logan making it back north to Carleon. He is now the apparent king in the north. He had left Black Dow there to hunt down Calder and Scale, who are Bethid's sons, to kill them, because while they are alive, they're a threat. They might try to put together another resistance against Logan. And when Logan walks into the throne room, he finds Black Dow there. They start talking, and something seems off. Black Dow lets Logan know that they're actually going to. Well, Black Dow then tells Logan that he thinks he's evil, which he kind of is. He doesn't forgive him for killing Tolduru. Logan also killed one of Crummock's sons for no reason while he was the Bloody Nine, and they attempt to kill Logan. Logan manages to fight them off. He jumps out of window, runs down a hill, and he falls off a cliff and falls into a river. And that is where the story ends. We don't know what happens to him after that, but the story ends the same way that it began. In book 1, he was being chased by some Shanka, and he fell into a river and fell unconscious. Now at the end of the trilogy, he's fell into a river again, being chased, and went unconscious. But that's it. So that is all. That is the First Law trilogy. The only main character that got anything that they actually wanted was Bayaz. Bayaz is just horrible. He starts out and he seems like the helpful wizard Gandalf type, like he wants to fight against evil, and he's asking the characters that we get to know, Logan, Jazal, Pharaoh, for help, and we all think it's for the greater good, only to find out at the very end that it is all to serve Bayaz's interests and nobody else's. He does all this for his fight against his adversary, Khalul, and he doesn't care who he hurts, who he uses, how he uses them, how much pain he causes. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to further those interests and screw everybody. Pharaoh, we leave her, and she seems to be on a never-ending path for vengeance. Logan, he looks like he's gone back, and he's back to exactly to where he started at the beginning of the series, unconscious in a river, and he has nothing. Jazal, I think he has it the worst. He's a puppet king to Bayaz. He has no power to fight against Bayaz at this point. He doesn't know that he's a father to the baby that Artie is pregnant with. Glocka, the person he despises, has married her. He wants to be married to Artie, but he can't because he was made king by Bayaz against his will. And now he must obey Glocka's every command. And if he doesn't, he will face serious consequences. Yeah, he has it the worst. Glocka, by all rights, is probably one of the most evil people in this, and he ends up with a lot of power. He's second to Bayaz, so he will be in total control of the Union, open, closed council. He's even above the king. So he's an evil person who has gotten great rewards. He is married to Artie, and she seems to be a generally good person, just a tortured soul. But there's a couple moments in the book where you can tell that she definitely is trying to be a good wife to Glocka, which is definitely more than he deserves. And I can only imagine, or I feel sad for Jazal because that's what he wanted, and he seemed to genuinely love her. She seemed to genuinely love him, but they were just torn apart by external forces stronger than them. And yeah, it's just nobody seems to have gotten what they wanted except for Bayaz. Well, if you actually watched this, thank you. Up next, I am reading the Mistborn Era 2 series, about halfway through the Alloy of Law. I expect to have something up for that by this weekend. Yeah, so thanks for watching.